Hello and welcome to episode 17 Up in the Flow. My name is Hannah.
And my name is Courtney.
And it is currently Thursday, July 15th, 2000. Are we in 2021?
I know, I
was going to say 2002 or 22. Shoot. Wow, that's embarrassing.
Well, we're almost there.
I know.
I don't want to say that.
Are we over halfway through? We're over halfway through the year.
I know. Where did the time go?
Where'd all the time go?
Yeah, we didn't have too much pre-planned for today's episode, but one thing that I wanted to touch on was confidence and how confidence is built and how it doesn't really come you can say as many affirmations as you want and kind of do the behind the scenes work, but you really have to put yourself out there and apply it to actually see any sort of
fruit from your labor.
Yes.
I feel like when I think about confidence, man, as a kid I was pretty confident, I would say. It's crazy how when you're younger everyone's like, oh, you can do anything and blah blah, and as you get older people start to be like, well, you need to be real. It's like, what happened? Well, I guess I do change, but my determination wouldn't have if I did start to get, I don't know.
Well, at what age did they stop telling you can be whatever you want to, let's be a little bit more realistic?
Yeah, it's in high school when, I don't know, when you're just discovering what you want to do, the pressure to, find a career path when you're just trying to find your footing as a human being is a lot, right? Because confidence is, especially in those years, is very fleeting.
Exactly, and I think confidence a lot of the times stems from your childhood home environment, but I think another huge factor is your school environment or what is going on within your peers. Because I think that it's never a cookie cutter. You can see someone with low self-confidence and then automatically go back to it's something that wasn't instilled from them from childhood. But I think that confidence can also be destroyed in teen years. You could come from a good family that really supported you, but then whatever experiences you go through in life, middle school's another really bad one. I think back to the way that I was in middle school, and I'm just
So, those of you who don't know, I was pulled out of school in 7th grade and homeschooled sort of the rest of my school career. So I don't have a lot of experience with that. But I do remember in elementary school, so this would have been, I think it was grade 4. That's grade 3 and 4 is when I first got made fun of, and that obviously changed a whole bunch of things. I remember there was a couple specific things, my teeth, that I was really made fun of for. I wore these plastic earrings to school one time, and people ripped into me for that. My hairline, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Those were the main things. Oh, I have always had little tics, so I've always moved my neck a certain way, and kids would make fun of me for that too. And looking back on it, oh my god, it's so stupid. I don't care at all. But I remember crying to my mom and being I don't want to go to school. The kids are mean. And it was awful. It broke me. I was a very sad little girl for, not the whole time, obviously. Those were spaced out and whatever. It's not I personally got picked on. I was pretty, middle of the road.
Because... Admittedly, did you pick on other kids?
Oh, God, yeah.
Me too, because I would get made fun of, and then I would channel that onto the weaker link. And that's kind of how bullying works.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
It's normally, I think it stems from somebody who's not getting the proper love and attention at home that comes to school and makes other people feel shitty, or other children, and then those children kind of, I don't know, I feel it's very cutthroat when you're a kid. You're just fucking mean.
I know. And it's because we don't realize the repercussions of what we say. When those kids were sitting around, I don't think they were oh, she's gonna remember this and sit and talk about it on a podcast when she's 27. They don't understand what impact that has.
The YouTube and media. Remember when me, you, and Haley were watching old reality shows or whatever, and you can just see the way that they would talk on TV, how cruel and very appearance-based and judgmental, even reality TV show,
judging even. Man, America's Next Top Model was one of my favorite shows growing up, and that is a show that's been going around the YouTube circuit, and people have been like ripping it apart because the things that like all of them said to these girls were disgusting. Like, I had, obviously my image of myself was distorted so drastically because these perfect women who were like, you know what I mean, were getting destroyed.
Perfect, and they aren't even good enough in the eyes of like television. So like that's another huge factor. I don't think it's just kids are inherently mean. I think that
it's our favorite word, programming, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It comes from a lot of different areas.
I even like, I don't know, I feel like when I was mean, the older that I got, like, I noticed, like, I would feel more guilty about it, but it was just so, like, normal to talk shit, make fun of, whatever else. Like, I stopped being mean to people's faces probably in middle school, which was, if anybody who is listening to this knew me in middle school, I apologize, because I think I was mean. I was very mean. I used to pick fights with people, but I just had a lot going on in that time period, and I'm not trying to excuse it, but like, I'm not that person anymore, and I think that that was a direct reflection of like the rejection and everything else that was going on.
And I mean, you were how old in middle school? Like, I think looking back on it, if anyone is persecuting you for the things you said or did, like, come on.
Well, it's like,
obviously
it's kind of like
from
the way that I look at it too, especially doing the podcast, or like when I think of being perceived, there's sometimes where I'll picture like who I was before, and then I'll think that people still see me that way, person, and that's why I think the imposter syndrome kicks in, because it's just like, oh, well, what happened to like the Courtney, like, I don't know, there's like versions of myself that I'm trying to make peace with, because I know that it doesn't define me, but I'm still embarrassed of who I used to be in
but
a lot
when you
of ways.
Think about people from elementary school, I'm sure you're not thinking back and you're like, oh my god, that person was, you know what I mean, because it's elementary school, and like high school maybe I can see, but we're also like, you're approaching your mid-20s, it's like, okay, now it doesn't really matter. What matters is face value and moving forward and so on and so forth, hopefully for most people, right, for the well-rounded and conscientious and well-versed and educated.
I actually had a girl reach out to me that I knew in middle school, and like me and her were like, we were good friends, but we'd fight here and there, and I feel like she kind of knew the worst version of me, like the middle school version, and she recently like reached out to me and said like, oh, I don't even know, it was so touching, like she's like, I'm proud of you, like what you're doing, because I'll post like stuff on my main account with like spirituality, and I kind of like was showing a different side of myself, and I don't know, it really just took me by surprise that someone would notice like the growth, like she was complimenting my growth, and I'm like,
that's really that is really cool. I mean, that's also the advantage of being perceived, right, is that it's not all negative. There's people who recognize you for who you are and how far you've come, and that's awesome. I would say the worst version of myself was presenting itself like around, I would say 22, 23, 21 to 23, because I had just come out and like left the church. So like for me, when I turned 18, like I didn't have much high school experience with peers. I had a couple friends here and there, but
well, you being in India too and not having like
access to regular social, in my language anyway, social situations, which is so crazy. I grew up with that, by the way, side note, mind blowing. Anyway, when I came back, I was in a church environment. I worked in the church. I went to church every day, whatever. That environment, I will say, is very judgmental. Everyone's always talking about behind each other's backs, and I was definitely like a part of that and very judgmental and whatever, and I'm like, I'm not ashamed of it because I know where that came from, which was, oh my gosh, deep-rooted friggin' programming and just shame-based idealities. But that's the group of people that I'm like cringing when I put myself out there. I'm like, oh my god,
because but you know how they are, but you're never going. These are people in Toronto, like you're never probably even gonna see them again.
If I do, it's probably going to be because we want to see each other and it's a positive interaction, and you know what I mean, they are recognized. Like, it doesn't have to be what I'm making it in my head at all. It's most likely far from it, but confidence.
I also think that A huge reason why I'm so afraid of being perceived is because of, like, the judgmental nature of, like, living in, like you said, like, you being in that environment where it was very judgmental, like, when you post, you automatically think, oh, these people are judging me. Like, I kind of feel that way about posting in general, like, living in St. John. All of my, like, followers on Instagram are from St. John, so it's hard for me to, like, take, like, a leap out of my comfort zone and try to, like, reinvent myself because I'm, like, picturing what people are saying or, like...
Yeah, but unfortunately it's impossible to become the people that we want to be without just literally being them, which is, like, I think that's why most people don't get into content creation and whatever, because it's terrifying.
Well, especially when you have this is something else I wanted to bring up, like, a very unstable sense of identity, which is something that I really struggle with.
Suffer with, unfortunately.
Like, and it's
diagnostically.
It's come to light more, like, after I just recently, I don't even know how I feel about labels, but I was diagnosed with ADHD in, like, last summer, and then just recently I had an appointment with a psychiatrist that diagnosed me with BPD, and I do think that both plural of diagnosis makes sense. But I don't want to, like,
live your life
absorb into it and, like, let it become a part of my identity. But I do see, like, aspects that do show up in my day-to-day life, and the flighty sense of self. Like, this is why I have a really hard time taking criticism, and that's why I don't want to put myself out there. I'm always perceiving some sort of, like, threat, or someone's going to threaten my sense of identity. And I just watched a girl, like, do a pep talk on YouTube, and she said that she would always make fun of herself because she wanted to say it before anyone else could. So she's constantly pointing out her flaws and calling herself out, and that's something that I do and I've done heavily. Like, I would always, like, label myself or kind of, like, make fun of myself, especially when I was, like, going through the phase when I was drinking. Like, I would make fun of myself before someone else could. So, like, I was, quote unquote, like, owning
self-aware.
But that's really me just affirming that sort of identity and really, like,
aligning,
it's like low-hanging fruit, because I'm scared that that's what people think, because that's kind of my shadow self coming through. But I don't know, from this point forward, like, I guess when it's like if you're trying to build an online presence and you have a flighty, like, sense of identity, it's hard. We talked about this in the last podcast, because you look back at your post and you don't recognize the person that posted that. And, like, it's really easy for me to get into, like, this cringe sort of mindset where I, like, absolutely, like, do not want to be perceived, and I can't stand the idea of it. And I'm like, I'll look back at my post, I'm like, why the fuck did I put that? Even though I felt so confident when I was.
In the moment. I know, and that's, like, the kicker. It's like, when you're going back and criticizing yourself, what you should be doing, and I'm saying you, but I also mean me.
Anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Is being grateful that you have that sort of stamp or memory that's there. You know what I mean? Because in the moment, you did decide to post that for a reason. You did feel confident, or, I mean, well, hopefully it's confident that you felt. Like, I mean, there's people who just post stuff on social media to look a certain way, but I... obviously, because I don't post a lot, I'm very selective with what goes up there.
And me too, but if we want to post more, you have to stop being so, like, picky and just kind of accept that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's hard when you...
Do you find when, like... So, I'll go on a photo shoot with Lex, and we'll go through the pictures, and I'll like certain ones, and she always likes different ones than me.
Yeah.
All the time.
Every time.
I like, that always throws me off, because I'm like, so am I pretty the way I think I look pretty? Like, what do I look like to other people? I get so confused.
Honestly, pretty much every time that, like, when I'm getting my friends to, like, pick a picture of me that I took, they'll always pick something that I don't, like, gravitate towards. And I'm wondering if it has something to do with, like, how we're so used to looking at ourselves in the mirror, and it's maybe the closest that we look to when we look at ourselves in the mirror, like the photos. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Which is interesting, because, like, mirrors are a human invention, you know what I mean? Think about when they weren't everywhere, and now we have little cameras, like, that are practically mirrors in our hands. It's like, we see ourselves more than ever, and I don't think any of us know what we look like
I know.
more than ever at this point.
Well, especially filters and shit. I can't. Another reason why I have a hard time posting on anything besides Snapchat is because Snapchat just has those filters right there ready to go that make me feel more
put
confident.
Together, yeah. I know, I'm trying to not use them as much because I don't like the way I look without them. And but not in the mirror. I'm fine with what I see in the mirror, but when I go to record myself, I don't like what I see in that camera.
Oh, me too. I think it's because are you talking about like recording or like pictures? Or both?
Mostly recording. Like, I can sometimes, I mean, I hate my face often because that's just the way I was programmed, unfortunately. I'm working on it. But yeah, when I'm in selfie mode, I find myself the least attractive ever when I look at myself, honestly.
Yeah, I'd say if I'm taking like a selfie on my camera roll, but I find that full body pictures, either taken by other people or taken by myself, are almost a little bit worse. I don't know why. Like, it's kind of because I'm focusing on trying to make my body look good and my face, but like it is normally 9 times out of 10 my face, and like I'm trying to
suck in, have the angle,
or like
think of the next pose, make sure your face is right. Oh, put your chin up. Where's the light again? It is like a process.
It's a skill. Like, it really is a skill. Looking good in pictures is not something that, like,
you have to practice in the mirror. You have to take 50 pictures to get one good one, truly.
And, like, with video, too, I wanted to point out, like, why I have a very hard time, like, when we're, like, editing our videos or doing whatever. It's, like, looking at myself and my mannerisms and the way that I, like, move my mouth. And, like, I don't look at myself like that.
Yeah.
Like, even when I'm in the mirror, like, maybe I'm talking on the phone and I'm looking in the mirror when I'm, like, you know what I mean? But
when you catch yourself in the mirror, too, like, something in you, I think, changes. Not you in particular, but
just like,
you're like, oh, I gotta sit up straight and whatever. Whereas when you're in front of a camera for that long period, there's more opportunity. I took a video of us at the beach, like, so that I could, have it for B-roll, and, like, I hate every single frame of myself in it. Every single frame, and I knew that camera was going, and I was trying to be conscious of it, and I look, to me, ridiculous. I look so ridiculous. I'm like, I go out like that every day, and I act that embarrassing in public, and people are my friends. Like,
I know, I feel that too. It's because I think really what it comes down to is, for one, we're not used to looking at ourselves, and it's kind of like we need to desensitize, like, this is what you look like, accept it, read it in fucking
I've been saying that a lot to myself. That's what you look like.
It's okay that you look like that too, because I think that the way that we want to be perceived versus, like, how we actually look, there's not even anything wrong with the way that we look. We just don't look the way that we would want to. And I'm not trying to, like, ever become that Instagram model fucking perfect, like, you know what I mean? I think, oh my goodness, I don't know if you guys can hear that, so sorry. We have to have the window open because our friggin' house is just a steam box.
It's a storcher. It's a storcher out here.
Torture and scorcher.
Yeah.
I kind of forget what I was saying, but oh wait, this is a good opportunity to hop into today's sponsor, which, by the way, it says before we hop into today's episode because it is pre-recorded. So yeah, I just wanted to address that, but we are going to re-record it probably after this episode when we're all warmed up. But without further ado,
awesome, and we're back. So back to confidence. So when do you feel the most confident? Because we've talked a lot about what broke our confidence.
Okay, so I guess I feel the most confident when I am being consistent, or when I
are sticking to a routine.
Like sticking to a routine, or like actively doing things outside of my comfort zone and it going well. I think that is the number one, like, boost for confidence for me, is like when I like, I think I really do struggle with social anxiety, and I never realized how bad it was because I've always had, like, my friend group, and, like, I'm social, I like to go out and party and stuff, but it's, the only reason that I was appearing that confident is because I had a couple drinks in me, and all that, like, negative self-talk or that social anxiety was just kind of, like,
dulled, or you had someone in your back corner too, and people around that made you feel comfortable, for sure.
And then I feel like when it comes to putting myself on social media, like, a lot of the times it can go both ways. Like, sometimes a lot of the times, like, when I post or do something, I'll feel good about it, and then it's like afterwards when I'm not feeling so good, and I'm like looking over the things that I've posted, and that's when my confidence is stripped away, and I'm like, I don't recognize that person, you're cringy, what are you doing, type deal. But in the moment when I'm posting, typically I do feel good, but it's like, even, okay, a good example, like when we did the podcast last week, I felt like $1,000,000 when we got done. And then when I went to go edit the clips, like, and listened to my self-talk, like, I was cringing so fucking hard. It felt like there was fucking chills going down my back, and I'm like, what are you doing? You have no clue what you're talking about. So she was
doing this in the kitchen, and because she's cringing at herself, she's picking clips primarily of me speaking, and so in turn, I am standing there just wanting to rip my skin off and throw up because I cannot stand hearing myself talk. It's really a problem. But yeah, in the moment, I even texted someone after. I was like, you know what, we recorded a couple podcasts, we both feel really confident about them, I think there's good content in there. Boom, the second I go back to listen to them, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's weird. I guess, like, in the moment when I wouldn't want to tie my confidence to productivity, but I think that what we're trying to do, we're trying to put ourselves out there, and it's a direct challenge to my social anxiety and my insecurities. Like, all of my biggest insecurities are being confronted with the things that we're doing. Like, a big thing that I've really struggled with the podcast is because I always feel like I have a hard time articulating, and I feel like I ramble a lot, and I feel like I sound stupid, and I'm projecting everyone around me to think that I'm stupid, or like critique me or challenge me because I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about, or like I don't say it like eloquently enough, and like those things are constantly being challenged when we're doing the podcast or when we make a video and we have to, like, go back and edit it. It, like, really,
those are direct hurdles to those, like, triggers, I guess, is for lack of a better term. Yeah, I think there's a lot of well, okay, for both of us, since technically we have been diagnosed with BPD, I think there's an element of self-sabotage there when you go back and look at things, because, you know, once you put yourself out there to be perceived, the longer things are out there, the more time you have to have eyes on you and stuff, and that's why in the back of our head we're like, we gotta delete everything. Yeah, I gotta delete it all. I gotta wipe clean. I gotta start over. Like, this is not because the whatever mental block that we have, and that makes us believe that we do not deserve success, manifests itself in that way.
Yeah, or like, you're not worthy, you don't know what you're talking about, or like, it's kind of like there's that element. And then another thing for me is because of my, like, rocky sense of identity, I feel like I'm constantly, there's so many different facets to my personality that, like, sometimes, like, a facet of myself is, like, showcased on social media, and I feel like I have to uphold that standard that I set for myself, and then I don't feel like I connect with that side of myself. Like, when we were super into like, self-improvement, and I feel like I was way more into spirituality probably in the fall, like, it was a whole different era for me, and I felt more comfortable posting about that stuff because I felt like I was living it. And then for us to get back into the podcast where we left it, I felt like that wasn't me anymore, and I could not
operate at that level.
Yes, but that's okay because everyone's constantly growing and changing, and, like, if I want to remain, or I want to be perceived as authentic, then I have to.
I think another thing is I was saying this earlier today, is that it's no one's business. I mean, at the end of the day, social media is a highlight reel, so whatever they're assuming off of what they see is none of their fucking business.
Or it's none of our business what they think of us either. It doesn't affect
also very
it.
True.
But when you have a very unstable sense of self, anyone's opinion...
when you're seeking that validation, naturally, subconsciously, unfortunately, it can be,
That I think is the biggest problem is... not knowing who I am and, like, looking for that approval or that, like, validation or that confirmation, it's my number one, like, enemy, I guess, is that I don't want to be perceived in a way that is not...
exactly what you intended in the first place.
Because another one of my core issues, I guess, is, like, being misunderstood, like, back to when I was talking about my insecurity with, like, speaking. It's really, it comes down to the root of it is being misunderstood. I constantly feel like I'm being misunderstood, and that's why it's called over-intellectualizing. I learned that in therapy. Made me cry when she told me, because I was like, oh, like that, I understand that that's what I was doing, but I didn't, I just called it rambling, but it's because I want to make sure that that person understands exactly where I'm coming from, and that's why I tend to add details in there that doesn't make any sense. And that's
why I find I don't talk to people, you know what I mean? Because I just, like, it's not that I give up before I even say it out loud, but it frustrates me that I know that whatever I'm saying is not going to hit them the way I want it to hit them. They will never see or feel my perspective, and because I'm not a words person, it's so hard for me to get across that feeling, and so I just don't at all.
That's how I feel
too. Not to share a lot, I would say.
But it's good when we are, because we're both like that, and, like, I'm sure any of our listeners have noticed that we, like, finish each other's sentences, or we help each other out a lot, which can be perceived as, like, interrupting, but I think a lot of the times we need to bounce off each other because we know what we're trying to say. We're in the same flow. That's what you call it, in the flow. And we just kind of, like...
we have a similar way of thinking about things, so I feel like we can grasp each other's vibes, like, you know what I mean, on a different level than... And also, we spent a lot of time together, too, so a lot of that is learned. It's not like we just picked up and we're like, wow, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like practice. And, like, we would talk like this for I don't know how long before we even started the podcast. And, like, shout out to Kelsey.
Yeah.
That was just, like, I don't know what she said, but, like, we did not let her get, like, a word in edgewise. We're driving back from a waterfall.
It was, like, 2 hours of us just going back and forth about random shit. And Kelsey was sitting in the back real quiet.
Yeah, and she just loved it. Like, she was like, no, like, I enjoyed listening to you guys talk, and we realized that we probably do have something
that was
unique.
Just enough validation between the three of us for us to start a podcast. Yeah. Like, I know I like what you're saying to me, and I understand that you must get something because we continue the conversation. So that third, like, little voice of me, that was it. Because
when we would talk about shit just in our apartment, I feel like we always thought that no one would even enjoy, because I think typically our friend group, we like different things than them, and I've always, even since I've been younger, I've always had, like, very different interests and, like, things that I like to talk about that I feel like they wouldn't make me feel that way, like, that they don't want to listen, but I could just kind of, like, pick up that they didn't really, like, understand, or like, I don't know, it wasn't something that they were passionate about, so it was just different. It was kind of like me going on and on and on because I really enjoyed something, and then it was kind of like a one-sided thing, but us on the other hand, like, we were just interested in a lot of the same topics, so it's easy to kind of, like,
have a more broad conversation. I feel the same way about, like, my past friends. I mean, there is Maggie. I would say she was very spiritual, or is very spiritual, was into the zodiac signs and whatever, but for a long time, now it's sort of becoming more mainstream and whatever, but for a long time, you're just crazy, and you know what I mean? It was not looked down upon, but
I don't know, it says a lot. I don't even know, maybe I'm just sensitive, but to come out as, like, spiritual and, like, admitting that you believe in astrology and, like, law of attraction and all of that stuff, because I think that it's not, I don't know, like, there is elements that you're asking, am I fucking crazy? Like, because it's very metaphysical.
Yes.
It's not something that's concrete, and it's not something that we learn in school.
I think that's maybe part of the reason there's it's hard with the confidence factors, because the stuff that we truly want to be putting out there is very up for interpretation and can be interpreted as psychosis, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, if you really want to put it blatantly. So, because of that, I mean, you have to be very concrete on your spirituality. And, like, I feel like we both go through the gigs, and that's why you were saying in the fall, you know, things are easier for you. And I
was way more, like, connected and aligned. But you know what? Recently, I just wrote down in my notes, I was having the most craziest synchronicities, and whenever that happens, it makes me feel so much better, because the things that I'm thinking about, typically, like, whatever's coursing through my brain, there's, like, weird little synchronicities that will confirm, because it's normally me, like, am I crazy? Or, like, I don't even know, I'm questioning my reality or my future, and then I'm having all these little things happen to me. Like, I was listening to music, and, like, I was just scrolling, I was laying here and I was scrolling through my Spotify, and, like, I would stop, in the word that is right in the middle of the screen is a word that the song was saying, and it happened like 4 times in a row, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
like,
that's so weird. I've had synchronicities. There's been a couple times where I've said something when someone else is saying it, or when it's been said on TV or a song. But, like, I find that, especially because lately, within the past month, they've been so specific, it, like, scares me, honestly. I'm like, oh, so life is a simulation. Like, you know what I mean? And, like, to what level you want to believe that. I don't think we're, like, programmed into a computer, but I'm like, holy crap, what is going on, and why are there so many people who are just okay with, like, the fact that we just exist? And, like, creating music is insane. Like, drawing pictures, like, I don't know if looking at your screen makes you feel absolutely fucking I don't know, like
disassociate.
Yeah, it's like identity dysphoria almost. I'm like, what are we?
Yeah.
What are we?
Yeah, it's disassociation. There's a lot of, like, triggers during the day that, but I will say, like, for the longest while, and I don't know if it's just because I keep telling myself this, I really wasn't feeling that magic or that zest that I was feeling in the fall. Like, synchronicities were, like, few and far between, and, like, I don't know, like, when I was feeling very spiritual, like, everything had such a deeper meaning, and I had such a deep appreciation for everything around me, and that kind of, like, evaporated, and, like, it would come in little spurts, and I think I'm sort of getting back to that, and, like, that's where I feel like I was the happiest when I, like, because life did feel magical. Every little, like, thing, like, I would go outside, and the way that I would just feel when I'm looking around at the trees or in nature, or, like, I don't know, just typically things felt magical. Like, my days felt magical, even if it was, like, a very plain Jane sort of day.
Yeah.
And that kind of, I don't know why, if there's some sort of fucking astrological reason, or it's just kind of like I needed to go through some sort of, like, dark night of the soul type deal, but
yeah, I found that, like, 2 weeks ago was the last time that we sat down to record a podcast. We filmed a couple at the same time, doesn't matter, I'm just saying that out loud to over intellectualize that word.
Yeah.
But I would say back then, I would have said I was pretty pessimistic about life, but thankfully within the past couple weeks I have felt like and it hasn't been, like, a crazy radical thing, but, like, a slow corner turn, so to speak.
Yeah, that's how I feel, too. Like, it's still, I'm having, like, definitely waves of existentialism and self-doubt and feeling overwhelmed with, like, where I want to be versus where we're at now and how we're gonna get there, and, like, a lot of it is, like, to do with, like, money, and I don't know what I should buy first or what would be the smartest route for me to take to have the future that I visualize. And I think that I haven't really spent much time visualizing or, like, scripting or really, like, knowing what I want to do, and I think
that's why I was talking about doing, like, the physical board for myself, because I am in a similar sort of scenario where it's like, okay, we can schedule as much as we want, but, like, I am going in between all these end goals, and it needs to all be in one place, because for me personally, I'll list off, like, what I would put on the mood board is like a top Etsy seller, top podcast. I would say like travel / spirituality, content creator. Within that vein, I would say I would also like to have a surplus of money. I don't like to say that out loud, but that's, I mean, the nicest way to put it. I would like to have a nice home base. I would like to buy a condo in a nice warm city somewhere. I need a driver's license. That one's like more digestible and like can be done right away. So that's a good thing to put on there.
That's like, well, I mean, all of them are goals, but like
it's good to have, I think, short term and long term though, to like put something that's you perceive as easy, so that when you check it off, you have that momentum, right?
Yeah. I've tried like a whole bunch of different systems, like for setting goals or like achieving goals, or even like scripting. Like I've done a lot of different stuff, and like I said, back in the fall when I was really on top of it, or like in the winter when I did my like group therapy, when I had that sort of like structure, I think that I was able to produce more tangible goals that made me feel accomplished. Because I think that if you don't have some sort of like, you can have all these goals and ambitions in your head, but you really do need to write them down and see them being checked off to feel good. And you need to have like a mixture of like small daily goals as well as like a big picture end goal. And basically, like, I think where I get messed up and where I wasn't connecting the dots even through therapy and everything. This is how you, like, when I was taking like courses on like life coaching and what I learned in therapy is like the GROW model. I don't really know. I think it's a goal. I don't know. I don't really know what it actually fucking stands for Google at this point. Yeah. but like how you set a goal is like you do kind of do like a scripting sort of exercise, even if you're not spiritual. Like you have to like kind of dream up what you want your life to look like, and then you work backwards and set tangible goals on like how to get there. But where I feel like I'm really messed up is how broad I was being with my end goal, because I don't really know what I want my future to look like, because there's so many different little aspects, but I know that it all goes together. But it's so overwhelming. Like with the podcast, it's not like a tangible goal for us now is like we're gonna record every week. We're gonna record multiple podcasts and like stay consistent with that. But there's also so many different little things, like buying the right equipment, like there's marketing, like there's so many.
Marketing's a huge one. Between like, so right now we have the goal to upload the one podcast, but it's like there's people with podcasts that have other channels that are also uploading clips from the podcast, and then we could be marketing it on TikTok and having clips there and on Reels, and then we could be like there's so many different aspects to all of the stuff that we want to do, really. But even just if we take this podcast specifically, that's what we're looking at. And also, this is really far into the podcast, and I would have liked to do this earlier, but shout out to Courtney, because she put up a journal on Amazon. Her cute little design. I feel like we talk about my stuff all the time, so check out our beacons. It is on our little link tree there. My stuff's on there too. If you ever want to see what we're doing anywhere, definitely refer back to that, because we'll be updating it. I was thinking that too, that we should be kind of bringing that stuff up more. Definitely, or like probably even every podcast, because it's kind of like a self promo.
Yeah, and what is it called? What do the YouTubers say? Self sponsored.
Oh yeah. Because like true. Yeah, that's very true. We all both ordered one, and ours are coming today. I'm so excited to see them. I know. I can't wait to see it in person. But yeah, I guess I don't even know if I've ever brought it up, but I don't know if you have either on the podcast, honestly. That's why I was like, as soon as I was thinking about it yesterday, I was like, I want to bring it up on the podcast. And then it popped in my head. I was like, I changed directions here right now.
I guess my end goal, like, I would like to sell, like, design and sell journals. And, like, I specifically want to have journals that actually, like, this journal that I put up is just a blank one. But, like, my end goal is to have, like, a journal prompt book and kind of, like, build I want to do, like, some sort of, like, life coaching or create courses, but I kind of want it to be built off of, like, my journals and, like, self-esteem and kind of, like, stuff like that. But I really, really got out of that for the longest time because I was just questioning, like, who the fuck am I? What do you think you're doing? Like,
who am I to tell people how to help themselves?
Yeah, when I'm, like, fucking barely getting by myself. But to be completely honest, I think that there's a lot of people out there that they do...
I think, like, even people who are far more established than us have that feeling all the time, right? It's like, we're going to get to a point where we have everything we want, and then we're going to go through a different sort of dark night of the soul. You know what I mean? Because I see that a lot with, I'll use Emma Chamberlain as a prime example, because I've been watching a lot of her content. So she got... she went viral when she was in high school, and now she's an influencer. She has lots of money. She has a house. She can do whatever she wants, and she's really struggling with that because she's like, well, what is it that I want to do? Because every time you hit your goal, you're going to have to reimagine your goal. So we're going to go through this again in a different aspect. And I think that's natural. Like, once human beings hit a certain point of success, you can either choose to share that success, or you can Jeffrey Bezos it and fly yourself to the fucking moon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, and that is a whole power struggle and experience that I can't speak for, but I think I definitely recognize unfold even in my own life with the small amounts of success that I achieve
because you're never focusing, like, on the things that you have accomplished in the moment. You're always focusing on, like, well, what can I do better? How can I improve? What's next?
That's why gratitude is so important. You should definitely include a gratitude portion in your journals.
Yes, that's
even a whole
like
journal dedicated to gratitude.
I used to have a separate gratitude journal, but I found, like, someone who is, like, I'm passionate about journaling, but I have kind of, like, lost the fizzle with it. But pretty much every day,
I'm so passionate about your journaling. I have so many ideas right now that I don't want to say on the podcast because I'm like, well, I don't want anyone to steal the ideas I have for you, because I, like, it's so easy for you to shit on yourself, but I feel like I'm your biggest fan. Fucking go for it.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I guess, like, my journaling structure right now, like, I typically write a little blurb about what I might do that day or how I'm feeling, like, just something small, and then I'll always include gratitude. Like, that is something that I pretty much do. If I'm gonna journal, I do 3 things that I'm grateful for, and then if I'm really feeling, this is when I'm, like, fucking hitting hard, feeling good, I do, like, intention setting, which isn't so much, like, I don't like to say goals because it makes me feel shitty when I don't do the things that I set out for myself to do, but kind of intention setting, which is normally, like I am open to receive, or, like, I am expressing gratitude continuously. I am ingesting content that is going to catapult my future, like, something like that, kind of like that, are more vague, because I don't know.
More affirmation-y almost.
Yes, well, because you're speaking, like, as if, or, like, in the moment, like, whatever what that is called. But I guess another one of my things that I feel like I'm struggling with is when I do set goals, I typically don't reach them. Like, when I tell myself I have to do something, like, something that I don't know why, like, you and Kelsey, like, the journals that I made for you, I can't finish them. Like, I just, like, I got so far, and it's like, I'll put it off, and then I'm like, oh, I want to do that, and then I'll just find anything else to do besides that for some fucking reason. And it was like that even when I posted my first journal, like, on Amazon. Like, that took me, for the amount that the effort that it actually took, I don't know what it was. I'm just like, nope.
Yeah.
So it's like a self-sabotaging thing, but it's like, if I don't feel like doing it, I just feel like I need to be in this, like,
state of a certain state.
Yeah, the flow state, really.
Yeah, definitely. I chalk that up to it not being time. Like, maybe there's ideas that you need to put in that journal that you have not come up with yet. And, like, that's what I have. That's the energy I've put towards the podcast. That's the energy I've put towards me posting stuff on Etsy. That's the energy you have to put towards anything. Otherwise, you will drive yourself fucking
like,
insane.
not that I'm a failure. It's that, like, I'm still trying to perfect my system.
Like, we could have all friggin' invested in Bitcoin 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But we didn't, and we could sit there and dwell on that. Or we could put our money in Ethereum. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Or, you move forward and you work with what you got, and you catch the next wave, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel with the podcast, there's sometimes I'll think, like, I'll just look at, it's normally comparing myself to other people or other people's success, and I just,
I hate doing
I think the thing that gets me is, like, our time that we've had off, what we could have done with it, and it's not, I don't want to think like that, but I typically, that's when I'm having that negative self-talk or like that.
And if I'm being honest, there's a lot of times where I have to stop scrolling on social media because I'm seeing other people's success and I'm seeing people in positions that I wish we were in. And it, like, physically is painful.
Me. Yeah.
It's physically painful sometimes, truly.
Oh my God, yes.
If I'm being honest.
Yeah, like, big time. And I don't want to feel like that because there's other times when I'm scrolling through and I see people doing what I want to do.
And you're like, yes! Get it. Oh my God, why?
I know. Well, I think it's just whatever, like, your mood
is in the moment. Yeah,
and,
it's
like,
projecting. It's projecting 100%.
And you can't, I don't know, I guess, like, you can't feel good every day either. Like, it's like you kind of can't condone or, like, condemn yourself when you're being like that, but just kind of, like, be weary of it.
If we felt good all the time, we wouldn't have anything to talk about right now, right? We wouldn't be having this conversation, truly. So, I mean, there is a silver lining, which is so... Ew, what a cliche.
Yeah.
But
there always is a silver lining, and it's kind of like someone who, like, I have always been such a negative person. Like, I don't really know when it started. I guess, like, since I was a kid, I would always, like, fear the worst. Like, it wasn't so much, like, my attitude, but, like, my biggest thing, I wrote kind of like a little blurb on Eureka about this, because normally when I'm giving, like, advice or writing something, it's kind of like to myself. It's like a self reminder or whatever, but I really came from a very, very, very negative outlook. Like, I was always very negative about myself. Like, not, like, I'm negative about situations and everything else, but, like, I think it was more always derived at myself, or, like, my expectation of how things are supposed to go versus how they really went. I constantly felt like I was disappointed because things never really went the way that I would picture them, and that also would what's the word that I'm looking for, like, challenge my belief in the law of attraction, stuff like that, because I'm like, well,
you're picturing this thing,
but it's because of my attachment to the outcome. Instead of enjoying what I'm doing in the moment, I'm very focused on the way that I thought I wanted it to be, because I think I am like a dreamer and I have all these ideas, and then I get excited about something and then it won't go the way that I intended it to go, or like when things don't work out for me, I'm very reactive to it, and like, that's my number one thing that keeps me in this low vibration, is that I'm so fucking, like, hard on myself.
I perceive you as harder on yourself than I am on myself, even, which is pretty, I mean, that's a lot, because I'm pretty hard on myself too.
Yeah, I think we both definitely have our moments, but I'm trying to just come out of it, because I don't know, like, where this
I probably just perceive that, though, because I'm like, everything you do is great, and you probably think that everything I do is great.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
so it's kind of like, well, why are you being so hard on yourself? And I think that, like, most people would be proud of us. I think, like, for the amount that we've accomplished, even on, like, a mental growth level, like, holy fuck, like,
above
even
all else,
actually when we went to Rishabakto, me and Taylor were in the room for a while, and she was just like, I was feeling shitty and unmotivated at that time, and I kind of started telling my friends that I don't really like, I was just saying, like, all of these dreams that I had, I don't know if I can accomplish them, and I was kind of, like, beginning to, like, settle for, like, I don't know, and, like, I was kind of just, I was feeling really just
backtracking, basically.
Yes, and I felt like all the progress that I made was like, eradicated. Like, I felt like I wasn't this I don't know, like, I wasn't the person that I was, like, preaching to be. And Taylor kind of took me aside and said, like, I have noticed a huge change in you. Like, you are, like, I don't know.
That's good. Yeah. That you've come leaps and bounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's something that you kind of can't see when you're so focused in your own head and, like, focusing on, I don't know, what is wrong with you and trying to, like, self-improve, that you kind of don't take a step back to, like, look at how far you have come. And it's okay to kind of, like, relapse or whatever else, like, kind of experience, I don't know, I can't really
experience the waves, I feel, because it is, I mean, the law of the universe is that energy ebbs and flows, and no person, especially with hormone cycles, like, and planetary cycles, it's inevitable you're going to feel down on yourself, and the confidence is gonna feel like a figment of your imagination some days, honestly. I don't want to say most days, but a lot of the time.
It's kind of like about getting a system in place for yourself that, like, you can overcome those bad days without letting it turn into a spiral, which is you gotta
I would say, to summarize,
that.
Gratitude, for sure. Stuff that makes you feel confident. Like, try to go and practice that. We like to hike. I feel that really puts both of us in a different headspace. Yeah.
Like, getting out into nature, like, meditation. And, like, sometimes, though, another thing, and I've seen other content creators kind of, like, critique this, is that, like, if you are struggling with mental illness, like, you can't expect to meditate anything and fucking do yoga and, like, it all go away. And it won't go away, but it does help. And it might not help you on your bad days, and you can't sometimes, like, I have felt so shitty. I don't want to listen to my affirmations, and I don't want to do, like, my, like, spiritual routine, because I'm like, this is not helping me. And you know what? It's not going to help me in that mind state. And that's okay. You don't have to fucking meditate and do yoga and write in your journal every single day. Like, it's... You're allowed to feel shitty.
Yes. And, yeah, you're allowed to stay there for a little while. For sure.
As long as it doesn't, like, run you, which is kind of, like, what I'm trying to, like, catch on to early. And, like, I don't
think it does run you anymore, though. I think that there is an in-between ground, and I think that we've both hit it. And I think just because we still have those lows in that doesn't mean that we are still at a low point. It just means that we have not, I don't know.
I think we both mastered the art of bouncing back.
Yes.
Like, that is something that I've noticed in myself. Like, I have had, like, a really bad last couple days. Like, I don't know what the fuck came over me. I'm just feeling very anxious, existential, empty, sad. Like, just, I don't know, but, like, I caught myself coming out of it, like, a few times. Like, I was feeling really upset the other night, and, like, something that I learned in therapy, it's called, like, opposite action. So, like, when you recognize that you are, like, kind of going into a certain state, to do something that you know that is automatically going to pull you out of it. So, like, I was laying here, like, listening to music, just feeling shitty, and, like, I was like, no, I'm going to get up and go for a walk by myself. And, like, it was, like, when the sun just set, and it was still dark, but it was still kind of light, and I just walked around by myself, just walked around the neighborhood. I sat down on the bench, like, you know, down by, like, it's a good view of the city, like, you know where I'm talking about?
I think so, yes.
And, like, I listened to some sad songs, I listened to some not sad songs, and I just kind of, like, sat with myself in the moment. And I remember, like, walking through the neighborhood, and I felt that sort of, like, magical feeling that I haven't felt in a while, that it, like, I kind of attributed it to, like, a feeling that I would get when I was younger, like, when I'd be walking with my friends at night, and, like, I just felt very alive, I guess. Yeah, and, like, I still came back, and I would go back into, like, crying, and then I kind of come out of it, and, like, my mood is very, very, like, volatile. Erratic. Yeah. Like, and I feel things deeply, but I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think, like, that is just the way that I am. I just need to make sure that I don't let
yourself stay there.
Yeah.
I had a morning like that the other day, and I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my coffee and I'm going to sit in the car, because what I wanted to do was just lay in bed, and that's it. But I was like, this car is something that I manifested literally out of nothing, so to sit in that vehicle and not be grateful would be just revolting. So I ended up sitting in there until I think it was like 3
that was
o'clock.
like all day, wasn't it? Yeah, that day.
Yeah, but it really, like, I don't know, just that small act of take yourself out of this. Yeah, focus on what you have to be grateful for. Completely radicalize that day. And, like, I didn't get a bunch of stuff done, and it wasn't like I did anything more than I would on a regular day, but even to have a regular day on a bad mental health day is revolutionary if you are stuck in it right now. I know it seems very out of reach, but truly it can happen. If I am saying it can happen, as a psych ward survivor, I've been out of the hospital a couple times. I promise you that you can figure it out. I promise.
And, like, maybe doing something small like that is not going to make you fucking feel overjoyed, or, like, it might not completely take you out of your lull, but it's not going to accelerate your negative feeling. It's literally opposite action. You're taking yourself out of whatever vibration that you're in, and at least attempting to get yourself into another one. And, like, you basically just have to practice doing that until it becomes more of, like, a habit for yourself, that you're not gonna, like, let yourself wallow. But sometimes you have to. Sometimes you do have to just lay there and be sad.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's like a fine line between toxic positivity and, you know,
exactly,
being able to see the brighter side of things, which life's all about balance, baby. If we had it figured out, I don't know, we'd probably not be here anymore.
Well,
we'd
we're
get
trying to get it
pixeled
figured out,
you know. Oh gosh, yeah.
And I think that that's a part of, like, what is going to make us successful is, like, our openness and our vulnerability and our honesty with what we are struggling with, because I know that there's definitely plenty of other people out there that feel the exact same way that we do. Have that, like, because a lot of the times when I think in that success mind state, and we're looking at people that are successful and trying to follow their formula, it doesn't work for somebody that has the mental health issues that we're struggling with. It's not as cookie cutter, like the people that the 5 a.m. club that fucking get up and have the same routine and do this crazy shit. Like, consistency is something that I struggle with, and it's not like something that I'm gonna get up at 5 in the morning every day and I'm gonna do X, Y, Z, and like it's too much for me to put on my plate, because I'll just end up feeling like a failure. And that's what the cycle that I kept putting myself into is I get really excited, motivated, I'm fucking hitting hard, I'm coming up with all these ideas, all these plans, and then I kind of fall out of it, and then I lose touch with that side of myself, and I can't get there, and it makes me feel shittier, because I'm like, well, what the fuck's wrong with you? You can't stick to anything that you say. And like so I guess it's like that's probably another one of the biggest things that like gets to me is I want to be more consistent, but there's just a block there of some sort that I need to
overcome. I mean, that's the process that we are both going through, and I am proud of us for being this consistent thus far. This is podcast number
17.
Well, yes, podcast number. Well, it's not even our 17th podcast technically, because we do have a couple other. We'll call them out of the flows, but but this is our third consistent week, which I think is pretty solid for us, and I think we have found something that works for us as far as content filming is concerned, and we can only build on it from here. So that's even more exciting, honestly.
And it's like, I think now, since we kind of are at a more consistent, this is probably the most consistent that we've been, honestly. I think so, yeah, truly. And like, I feel very motivated to stay this consistent, and like, I feel good when we do this, and it makes me feel more like accomplished and aligned with who I envision myself to be. Oh, and tying it back to like, how do you build confidence? This is like probably one of my greatest tools. Is the podcast was a great way to get my foot in the door, me being as insecure as I am and like not wanting to be perceived, because like it's like a lot of the times we don't even fucking listen to our own podcast. We'll just post it and then we won't like fucking look at it again because it's so cringy. But now that like we're taking clips and we're repurposing the clips and stuff, it's kind of forcing me to become okay with listening to myself talk, and like it's I don't know, I'm feeling like I'm starting to gain momentum with, like, being okay with myself compared to, like, how I was before. Like, I couldn't even, if I, like, messed up a sentence, I would get so upset and just be like, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. I'm not capable of doing this. And I'm kind of putting that version of myself, locking it up in a fucking trunk and throwing away the key because it's not helping me.
No, definitely
And, like, the
not.
worst that's going to happen is someone is going to think that I sound fucking stupid, which is my worst fear. And it's like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm stupid, and I know deep down that I'm not. And I don't think that a lot of people, I think most people don't think I'm stupid, so I don't know why I have this.
Definitely not. I would say that for both of us. I think that I project that too, that I'm stupid a lot, and I'll say it out loud, and I hate that I do it, and people will be like, I don't think that.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck. I know, and
yeah.
I don't think that about most other people either, so.
Yeah, it's just like a habit, and like we said before, like, when you want to call yourself out before anyone can call you out, so you don't have to hear that criticism from someone else's mouth.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Well,
on that note, this was a long one.
Yeah, it was a good one too. And
Yeah.
we didn't even do any takes or anything. We just, like, threw ourselves right into it. So, good for us.
I know, you're listening to it raw and uncut.
Yeah.
And on that note, you can also hear us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We will have not a visual version of this on YouTube, but it will be on YouTube. Our TikTok is always popping. Check out,
post on Reels too.
Yes, check out the Instagram and our side projects, Courtney's journals on Amazon and my Etsy shop.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, it was a good chat today. We'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.